Here's your Wiley Manager crash course in the counter offer, Jed. And in this particular context, we're not talking about if you're out there working in a sales capacity and you've got negotiation going on. We're actually talking about when an employee comes to you as a manager and says, I got more money across the street.
Yes, and that does happen. And if you haven't, hopefully this podcast will help you think through in advance so that when that does happen, you're a bit more prepared to deal with the situation.
Right on. So in the full-length podcast, we talk about various caution flags and some things you can do and how you manage the room and all sorts of other things. But for this crash course, maybe just give us an idea of things that you can do before you. So you've had the employee come in, they've said, all right, I can get more money somewhere else. What do you do before you respond?
Yeah, well, the first thing to do is make sure you can spend some time assessing the risk of either keeping or not keeping that current employee. Or if it's a new candidate situation, what's the risk of either landing or not landing that candidate? Because that'll determine how far you have to go or how far you are willing to go is probably the better way to say it. So assess the risk first of Bob walking out the door and be very critical with that assessment because turnover is a reality. People will leave. So to just chuck money at the situation every time this happens is not going to serve you well. So spend some time assessing the true risk of that candidate or that person leaving your organization.
Right on.
The second thing is understand you can only go so far with base pay, but you need to do a little bit of homework to make sure you understand how far that is, right? So most of us have salary bands within a particular job needs to sit within. There's a top end of that band, a low end of that band. Understand where this current employee is within that band right now. That'll give you an idea as to how much more room you have to go before you start bumping up against the top of that band. So understand that first before you start just jotting figures on a piece of paper and sliding it back across the table.
Right.
The other thing I would suggest is consider other alternatives to money. So whether that be different ways you can alter the job, different schedule flexibilities you might be able to offer. Potentially, when it comes down to money, maybe there's a retention bonus or a signing bonus that would help you, buy some time, get the deal done, but aren't long-term fixed costs that are going to be overpaying Bob for the next 10 years that he works for the organization.
Right. So looking at those things, of course, helps you avoid the situation of having major discrepancies inside your organization in terms of compensation.
Yeah, we talked about this quite a bit during the podcast, that other employees will be watching how you respond to this. So if your response is simply to just chuck more money at Bob and overpay him versus his peers that do this similar kind of work, they're going to be knocking at your door next.
Right. And it's never a secret, Jed.
It's not a secret. The other thing I would, encourage you to do is sit down with the employee and see if you can determine why the employee is leaving. Is it strictly about the cash, right? More likely, there's some other things that are causing the individual to consider this other offer with the other company. And likely, even if you do manage to keep them, you're likely going to have to fix more than just simply base pay in order to keep that person long term. So if you could understand that, that's going to help you out in terms of if you are able to make this work, some of the other things you need to work on.
Right on. Well, if this is of interest to you, we invite you to listen to the full-length podcast where Jed and I get into this in some detail. You can pick that off iTunes or at wileymanager.com, along with all our other stuff. We'll see you there, Jed.
All right. Thanks, Bob.